Found among the stars asterisk. The stars above looked silent and cold as Ethan's escape pod crashed onto the dusty moon's surface. Sparks flew from broken wires, and the hatch opened with a loud hiss. Smoke filled the air, and Ethan coughed hard as he stepped out with shaking legs. His ship had been hit by debris from an asteroid belt, and now he was stranded on this unknown moon. He looked around and saw nothing but gray rock and darkness. Only his helmet light showed him the way. His oxygen levels were low, and the scanner said this moon had no breathable air. He began walking slowly, hoping to find shelter before the cold killed him. That's when his scanner beeped again. It picked up something strange about 50 meters ahead. A heat signature. Ethan moved quickly across the rocks until he saw it. A half-buried alien pod. Its metal surface was cracked, and the symbol on it was unfamiliar. He hesitated for a second. There was no telling what could be inside, but then the scanner picked up a faint heartbeat. He rushed forward and pried the hatch open with his tool. Inside he saw Hirsch. She was unlike anything he had ever seen. Long glowing silver hair flowed around her face like liquid light. Her skin was pale with a hint of blue, and her lips were dry. She was dressed in a torn white uniform, and her breathing was weak. Ethan stared in shock for a moment before his training kicked in. He grabbed his emergency kit and scanned her vitals. She was freezing and losing life fast. If he didn't act now, she would die. He pulled her carefully from the pod and wrapped her in a heat blanket. Then he placed an oxygen mask on her face and connected her to his portable power unit. The moment the warm air touched her skin, her body jerked, and her eyes opened just a little. They were glowing like starlight. Her lips moved, but no words came out, just a soft whisper. She looked into Ethan's eyes with fear, but also something else, something that made him feel strangely calm. Ethan sat with her through the night. He used all the heat packs he had and kept checking her heartbeat. He didn't know if she would make it, but he couldn't leave her alone, even if she was alien, even if this meant danger. Something inside him refused to walk away. As hours passed, her breathing became smoother. She was still unconscious, but no longer dying. Ethan finally leaned against a rock and looked up at the sky. He wondered what she was, where she came from, and why her pod crashed here. There were no answers, only stars and silence. The next morning, Ethan woke up with a jolt. The alien girl was awake and staring at him. She looked confused, then surprised. Her hand slowly reached toward him and touched his wrist. Her skin was warm now and glowing softly. Ethan tried to speak, but she said something first, a language he couldn't understand. But then she closed her eyes and whispered in broken English, "You saved me. You touched me during life's fade. Now we are bonded." Ethan blinked. What did she mean by bonded? He had only helped her survive. That's when her body began to glow brighter and strange markings appeared on her arms. She looked at him again, more serious now. "In my world, this means marriage." Ethan froze. Marriage too? An alien he just met. This had to be some mistake. But before he could say anything, the scanner beeped again. Ships were approaching, not Earth ships, but hers, and they were coming fast. The alien girl looked up at the sky with sadness in her eyes. "They will come for me, but now you are part of this. They will not let you go easily." Ethan stood up slowly, trying to process everything. He thought he was saving a stranger, but now he might have started something far bigger and far more dangerous. Asterisk. Alien law asterisk. Ethan backed away as the glowing markings spread across the alien girl's arms and neck. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. It looked like her skin was lighting up with ancient symbols. Soft blue and white colors moved like flowing ink. She was still sitting on the rocky ground, breathing slowly. Her eyes locked on his, and she whispered again, "You touched me during life's fade. You are now my chosen." Ethan shook his head, trying to understand. "I didn't mean anything like that. I just helped. You were dying. Anyone would have done the same." But she did not smile. Her face stayed calm and serious. "You don't understand. Our law is older than memory. When a female of the royal line is saved during her final breath and touched in the moment between death and life, the bond is made. If not honored, it becomes a curse for both." Ethan looked up at the sky. The scanner still showed multiple ships heading toward them. 12 minutes until they arrived. He felt like time was running out, but he didn't know why. What happens if I refuse? He asked quietly. She looked away. Her fingers trembled as she pressed them to the glowing sigil on her chest. Then I will be taken away to be judged. You will be labeled as one who rejected thee. Bond. It is not just personal to them. It is dishonor and insult to our entire kind. Ethan sat down beside her, still trying to breathe properly in his helmet. He opened the front visor just a little and wiped sweat from his brow. The alien girl looked no older than her early 20s in human years, but her presence felt ancient and proud. She spoke softly again. My name is Leora. I am the second daughter of House Valari. My father rules the star systems of Carthan Ridge. My people are not kind to those who break sacred laws. Ethan looked at her more carefully. He could see that even though she was calm, her hands were clenched in her lap. She was scared, truly scared. What will they do to me? He asked. She hesitated for a moment, then said, They will not kill you, that is forbidden, but they will take you into exile, far beyond known systems. You will be erased from memory, from history. You will not exist to Earth or to anyone again. Ethan's heart beat faster. This couldn't be real. It sounded like something out of an old space legend, a royal alien, a sacred life bond, and exile for simply not marrying Harry. Didn't even agree to anything. He said quickly, There's no way they can force this. Leora looked at him again. In your world, maybe. Not, but in mine, it is already done. Your touch in that moment of death sealed the bond, whether you meant it or no. Stood up and paced in a circle. This was too much. He had only wanted to help someone in danger, and now he was part of some cosmic wedding rule. He looked at her once more and saw something that stopped him. She was crying. Quietly, silently, tears of silver rolled down her cheeks and fell onto the dusty ground. I didn't want this either, she whispered, but I would have died without you, and now my body and mind are no longer the same. I feel your presence, your energy. If we are separated for long, I will fall sick. The bond is real. Ethan stepped forward, a mix of pity and confusion rising inside him. He didn't know her, didn't even know what food she ate or what kind of world she came from, but she had risked telling him all this, and she looked so small sitting there under the endless sky. Then a loud sound filled the air, a deep humming noise from above. He looked up and saw them, 4 alien ships breaking through the clouds, black metal blue lights, and a symbol on the side that matched the one on Leora's skin. They're here, she said quietly. Ethan grabbed his gear and looked down at her. Do you want to go with them? She looked at him with wide eyes. Do you? He hesitated, then said, Not if it means losing you to people who don't care about what you want. 4. The first time she smiled, the ships landed around them. Doors opened. Tall armored aliens stepped out with long spears glowing at the tips. Their eyes scanned Ethan carefully. Then one of them bowed toward Leora and spoke in her language. She answered calm but firm. Ethan couldn't understand the words, but he saw how they all turned to him afterward. The leader walked forward and held out a glowing scroll. In broken English, he said, By ancient law and witness of stars, human male Ethan Stone, you are now bound to Princess Leora Valari. Do you accept your fate with honor, or must we carry out the judgment? Ethan looked at the scroll, then at Leora, then at the glowing sky above. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but he knew one thing for sure. This was no longer just about survival. It was about choosing something far bigger than himself, and his answer would change his life forever. Signals and secrets asterisk. Ethan sat inside the alien ship's chamber while his thoughts spun in 1,000 directions. The walls glowed with soft green light, and the air smelled like sweet nettle. Leora sat across from him, her long silver hair now braided and clean. She wore a flowing gown that looked like it was made from starlight, and the strange glowing markings on her skin had spread more since the bond was formed. She had tried to smile a few times, but Ethan could see the worry behind her eyes. Even now, she looked toward the sealed door again and again. She was afraid of something, but she wasn't saying what it was. Why aren't we heading to your planet? Ethan asked, his voice low. You said your people would want us to go straight to Leora glanced at him. Then at the wall, there are rules. Before you appear before my father, the bond must be verified by the temple priests. They must scan our blood, test the truth. If the bond is real, the law forces him to accept it, even if he hates it. Ethan raised an eyebrow. He hates humans. Leora hesitated. He doesn't trust your kind, not after the war on the border moons. He believes humans are clever but dangerous. He will see our bond as weakness, as betrayals. Oh, what happens if the test fails? Ethan asked. Carefully, her answer came quickly. Then I will be punished for lying, and you will be sent into the void. No trial, no mercy. Ethan felt cold all over. The ship hummed softly beneath them, a slow vibration that reminded him how far from Earth he truly was. He leaned forward. So you're saying our lives depend on a blood test? Yes, she whispered. But it won't fail. I can already feel it. You're in my head now, your scent, your pulse. Even your breath echoes in my memory. I can't forget you even for a moment. Ethan opened his mouth but had no words. He didn't know if this was science magic or something far older than both. But Leora believed it, and deep inside a small part of him felt it too. Suddenly, the ship lights dimmed, an alarm echoed through the walls. The guard outside barked orders in the alien tongue. Leora stood up fast. That's not part of the route. Something is wrong. Ethan followed her to the hallway. They reached the cockpit where 3 alien pilots were already locking down the ship's controls. On the screen ahead, a cluster of unknown ships had appeared, small, fast and armed raiders. One of the guards hissed. They followed the human's beacon. Ethan's heart dropped. His distress call. It had brought rescue, but also trouble, and now they were in deep space, with no help. One of the raider ships fired a warning shot. The alien pilot dodged quickly, but Ethan could see the others moving to surround them. Leora's eyes burned with light. We cannot let them take you. If they learn you are life bonded to me, they will sell you to our enemies. Ethan's jaw clenched. He grabbed the emergency shield generator from the wall and followed Leora to the back of the ship. Going to board, he said. We need to hold them off. Leora pulled something from a hidden drawer, a long crystal blade that shimmered like ice. She looked like a warrior now, a glowing sigil burned on her forehead. You stay behind me, she said to him, not helpless. He answered, I know. She smiled for the first time in hours. That's why I trust you. Ship shuddered as the raiders latched onto the hull. A loud thud. Then metal screamed. The airlock was being breached. Ethan activated the shield just as the doors blew open. 4 raider soldiers rushed in. They wore black armor and masks that hissed with steam. One pointed at Ethan and shouted, That's the human. Take him. Leora didn't wait. She moved like lightning, her blade slicing through the air. Blue sparks flew as it clashed with the raider's weapon. Ethan held up the shield and tackled one of them. The room filled with the sound of metal on metal, and then silence. They were both breathing hard. 3 raiders down. 1 escaped. The pilot's voice echoed through the speaker. They're calling for reinforcements. Ethan turned to Leora. This is just the start, isn't it? She nodded slowly. The universe is watching us now, and there are those who will do anything to stop our bond. He looked at the blood on his hands, then at her glowing face. He had saved her life, but now his own was forever changed. The royal hunters. Darkness fell across the stars as the alien raider ship drifted silently behind them. Ethan stood beside the window of the royal vessel, staring into the black void. His mind was spinning with everything that had happened, the attack, the truth about the bond, and Leora's quiet warning that more were coming. Leora entered the chamber behind him, holding a small orb that pulsed with golden light. This was left behind by the last raider. She said quietly, It's a tracker. They were not pirates. They were bounty hunters. Ethan turned to her. Bounty on you? No. She whispered, on you. He stepped back. Me? Why? Because you are life bonded to me now, she explained slowly. To some that makes you powerful. To others it makes you dangerous. But to our enemies, you are a prize. Ethan sat down on the curved bench near the wall. The soft alien cushion sank beneath him as he tried to think. Had been a simple engineer on a cargo route. Now he was being hunted across the stars. Just because he saved a dying woman. What do we do now? He asked. Run again. Hideliora shook her head. We can't. My father's emissaries will arrive soon. They will not wait much longer. If we are not presented before the royal court within 3 cycles, they will declare the bond false. You will be marked as a deceiver, and I will lose all status forever. Ethan looked into her glowing eyes. Then we go. We face them. She touched his hand gently. You are braver than most warriors of my world, but I must warn you. The royal hunters will test you. They are not kind, and they don't care that you're human. Nodded slowly. Let them test me. I didn't ask for this, but I won't run. Before Leora could respond, the ship jolted. A voice echoed through the wall speaker. We've entered the orbit of Valari Prime. Prepare for descent. Ethan stood and looked through the glass again. The planet below shimmered with green rings and glowing oceans. Large crystal towers floated in the clouds, and long roads of light circled the mountains. It looked like something from a dream, and he was about to walk right into it. The ship landed. 10 armored guards stood waiting. Their faces were covered. Their spears hummed with energy. At the front stood a tall female with red skin and cold yellow eyes. She stepped forward and pointed at Ethan. So this is the human who dares claim the princes. Ethan opened his mouth to speak, but Leora stepped between them. He claimed nothing. The bond was formed in truth. He saved me when no one else would. The red-skinned woman tilted her head. Then let us see if he survives the rites. They took Ethan through glowing halls, past murals carved into crystal. Every step echoed as if the walls were listening. Finally, he was brought to a wide platform, open to the sky. Above him hung twin moons and stars that pulsed like slow heartbeats. A large circle was carved into the floor, symbols he couldn't read glowed in white lines. He was told to step inside it. Leora stood nearby, her hands clenched, but she was not allowed to interfere. The red-skinned hunter circled Ethan like a predator. Speak your name, she ordered. Ethan Stone, he said. You saved the royal bloodline, she continued. You touched her in the breath between death and life. You share her light now, and yet you know nothing of our ways. She reached for a silver blade and placed it in the air between them. If you are truly her chosen, then the blood will protect you. If not, you will burn. Ethan looked at the blade. Its edge flickered with strange fire. He hesitated, then reached out and touched Ida. Flash of white light exploded from the blade, but it didn't cut him. It curved around his hand, and the markings from Leora began to glow on his skin again. The red-skinned hunter stepped back, eyes wide. The bond is real, she said slowly. Leora ran to him, her face full of emotion. You passed. They will have to accept us now. But Ethan could still see something strange in the hunter's eyes, fear and maybe jealousy, as they walked back toward the palace gate. Leora whispered, be careful, Ethan. Not all fear is honest. Some fear becomes hate. He squeezed her hand. Let them come. I'm not afraid of truth. Above them, the royal banners began to rise, and the planet whispered of something new. A human had touched the stars, and the stars were listening. A bond sealed in fire. Asterisk. The royal gates opened with a heavy hum as Ethan stepped into the grand hall of the Valari Prime. Pillars of glowing crystal lined the path, each one taller than a building. Strange music played from the walls themselves, like the planet was singing. Leora walked beside him, dressed in a ceremonial robe of flowing starlight. Her markings glowed brighter than ever. She did not speak, but her hand never left his. Hundreds of alien nobles stood on both sides of the walkway, tall, elegant, cold. They whispered in their language and stared with unblinking eyes. Some looked angry, others amused, most looked disappointed. The end of the hall stood a raised throne carved from a single piece of white stone. On it sat the king of Valari. Tall, armored, eyes like molten silver. He wore no crown, but his presence made the air feel heavier. Ethan tried to stand straight, tried to breathe normally, but the weight of their stares made him feel like he was shrinking. The king raised a hand. The room fell silent. Leora, of House Valari, he said in a voice that echoed like thunder, you return to us with a claim, a bond with a human outsider. Speak your truth before this court. Leora stepped forward and bowed deeply. Father, this man saved me from death. He gave me warmth when I had nothing. He touched me during life's fade. The bond chose us. Not him, not me, but something higher. The king's eyes moved to Ethan. You accept this? Ethan nodded slowly. I didn't come here to lie. I didn't come here to take anything. I just didn't let her die. There was silence again, until the king spoke one more word. Prove it. Ethan could ask what that meant. The floor beneath him began to glow. The markings lit up. A deep rumble rose from Bella. Leora's eyes widened. No, not the fire, right? It hasn't been used in generations. The king said nothing. A circle of light surrounded Ethan, and flames began to rise from the floor. But the fire did not burn like normal fire. It was blue, cold-looking, but deadly. A voice filled the hall, echoing from the fire itself. Only the truly bonded may stand within. Others will be turned to ash. Ethan's heart pounded. He looked at Leora. Her lips trembled, but she did not run to him. The fire closed around him like a wall. He stood still, waiting. Breathing pain struck first in his chest. A searing flash like lightning through his veins. He fell to one knee, but did not scream. The flame twisted around him, testing him, probing his heart. His mind. Then something happened. Markings on his skin pulsed. A beam of light rose from his chest and connected to Leora's. Bond revealed itself before everyone. A living bridge of energy between them. Gasps filled the hall. Nobles stepped back. Guards dropped their weapons. Even the king's eyes narrowed. The fire faded. Ethan collapsed forward, but the floor caught him gently. The markings on his body faded to soft blue, still glowing, but calm now. Leora ran to him and caught him before he fell again. He looked up at her with a weak smile that was new. He whispered, "You survived the oldest test," she said through tears. Now no one can deny it. The king stood from his throne for the first time. He walked slowly to Ethan, looked down at him, and extended a hand. "You did not ask for this," he said, "but you earned it." Ethan took the hand. The king pulled him up. The crowd bowed as one in that moment. The bond was sealed, not just by blood or law, but by fire, witnessed by all later. That night, Leora and Ethan stood on the balcony of them. Palace. Stars filled the sky. The planet below shimmered with light. "Do you regret it?" she asked softly. "No," he said. "Just didn't expect my whole life to change this fast." She smiled. "Our bond is forever. Now you are part of Velari, and I am yours." He looked at her. This close, she seemed almost human, but the way her hair moved like liquid light, the way her eyes held galaxies, reminded him she was anything but. They stood together in silence. Two lives joined by chance and now by fire, the final choice. Morning sun of Velari Prime rose with golden fire, casting long beams through the palace windows. Ethan stood in the center of a great marble chamber, dressed in ceremonial robes made of woven crystal fiber. His heart beat loud in his chest as he looked up at the high dome above him. Images of past rulers and star gods were carved into the ceiling. Watching, silent, Leora stood across from him, calm but not smiling. Her long silver hair was tied into elegant loops, and the sigil of the life bond glowed gently on her collarbone. She was beautiful, but there was a deep worry behind her steady eyes. Around them stood the full royal council, dozens of alien nobles with flowing robes and proud expressions, some curious, some hateful, all watching. A priest stepped forward from the edge of the circle. He carried a long staff with a glowing gem. On top, he struck the floor once. "Let the choosing begin." Ethan was confused. He leaned closer to Leora, choosing what. She whispered back, "This is the ancient final rite. You must speak your will in front of the council. If you accept the bond, you become one of us. If you refuse, I lose everything, and they will erase your memory from our world." Ethan looked around. The silence felt heavier than space itself. No escape, no delay. His words now would decide their future. The priest's voice rang out. "Ethan, stone of earth, you have passed the trials of blood, the rite of fire. You have shown truth in the bond. But now you must speak your will. Do you accept the sacred bond with Princess Leora Velari? Do you choose to join her people, to be her equal, her protector, Her mate Ethan looked at Leora. She stood still, not begging, not pushing. Just waiting. He closed his eyes, his mind filled with memories. Her dying in his arms, her protecting him from raiders, her tears after the blade test, her smile after. The fire. He had come to this world by accident, but nothing after that had felt like a mistake. He opened his eyes and stepped forward. "I do," he said. The council whispered in surprise. Some gasped, others scowled, but the priest raised his staff and struck the floor again. "The bond is now law by word and will. Let the witness be the stars." A pulse of light spread from the floor and rose through the dome. Every sigil in the room began to glow. Even Leora's dress shimmered with living light. She walked toward him, her steps soft and graceful. When she reached him, she placed her hand over his heart. He placed his over hers. The markings on both of them lit up at once, and a ring of energy circled them like a gentle storm. "From this day," she said in clear voice, "we walk together, through time, through shadow, through flame." Ethan nodded. Together. Suddenly the light stopped. The air became still. The king stepped forward slowly. His eyes met Ethan's, and for the first time, they did not look cold. "You have chosen the hard path," he said. "Many would have run, but you stood and faced every test. You are not just a human now. You are bound to our blood and to our future." The king turned to the council. "Let it be written, Ethan of Earth is now Ethan Valari. By bond, by fire, by choice." The nobles bowed, some with respect, some without emotion, but none could deny what they had witnessed later. That evening, Leora and Ethan sat in a quiet garden behind the palace. Strange birds with glowing feathers sang in the trees. Soft winds carried the scent of moonflowers. Ethan finally spoke. "So what now? Do I get a crown or something?" Leora laughed. "No crown, just me and a future full of politics, tradition, and maybe freedom." "Freedom?" he asked. She leaned closer. "Bond has changed things. The people saw something true today. They saw a human become one of us that will echo beyond this world. Maybe for the better." He took her hand. "Do you regret it?" "Never," she said. "Even if it cost me everything, you were the only one who looked at me like I was worth saving." Ethan smiled. "You weren't just worth saving. You were the reason I survived too." The garden lights blinked softly like stars. Two lives, one bond chosen freely, and somewhere in the distance a shadow watched. Hidden in the trees, a pair of red eyes narrowed. Not everyone was happy. Married by stars. The stars above Valari Prime shined brighter than ever as the twin moons began to rise. The sky turned a deep violet with silver streaks flowing across the heavens like rivers of light. In the center of the royal city, an enormous floating platform hovered above the capital. It was shaped like a starburst and covered in glowing vines that bloomed with every heartbeat of the planet. Tonight, the entire world would watch the final rite, not a trial, not a test, but the ancient ceremony of union. Ethan stood before a massive crystal mirror. Dressed in formal robes made of dark energy thread, it felt strange on his skin, but familiar now. A few weeks ago, he was just a cargo engineer. Now he was being married before an alien empire. Leora stood behind a soft veil across the sky bridge, hidden from him until the moment of joining. Her gown was made from stardust cloth, glowing softly with each step she took. Alien priestesses fluttered around her like butterflies, adjusting tiny details on her gown and brushing her glowing silver hair from the platform edge. Cheers and chants echoed from every corner of the city. People of all races and species filled the balconies and bridges. Holograms displayed Ethan's face and beside it Leora's. But high above in a black sky cruiser, someone else was watching inside. The shadowed command deck, the rejected noble Torvik stood with his fists clenched. He was once promised to Leora. He had trained for years, fought wars, bled for the crown's approval, and now a human had taken everything from him, a human who had done nothing but fall from the sky. Torvik gave a sharp command. The ship began to descend. His eyes burned red with rage. If the council would not stop this madness, he would back on the platform. The priest of stars lifted his hands and called the bondmates forward. Ethan walked slowly toward the center. Leora stepped from behind the veil. Her eyes locked on his, and for a moment, the crowd fell silent. She looked like something from a legend, and Ethan had to remind himself she was real. This was happening. They stopped just inches apart. The priest spoke loud and clear. Tonight, under the moons of Villari and before the witness of stars, we bind the life bond through vow and light. Do you both accept this bond without force, without fear, with heart and truth? I do, Leora said without hesitation. I do, Ethan answered. Their markings began to glow together. A golden ring of light rose from the floor and slowly wrapped around them. The bond became visible to all alive, pulsing sacred. The priest nodded. Then let your bond be eternal, by stars, by choice, by love. As the crowd erupted into cheers, a sudden scream pierced the sky. The cruiser above opened fire. Explosions rocked the far edge of the city as beams of dark energy struck near the outer gates. Guards activated shields. Panic spread. Screams filled the air. Dervek descended in a black suit of ancient war armor. He landed on the platform with a thundering roar, blade-drawn eyes burning. This bond is false, he yelled. She was meant for me. You gave our future to a human. Ethan stood in front of Leora, even without a weapon. He refused to back down. Leora stepped beside him and raised her hand. Her markings flared bright like a sun. You had your chance. You fought with anger. Ethan saved with heart. He never wanted power. He only wanted to help. That is why he is my chosen. Torvik snarled and lunged before his blade could reach them. The bond activated. A burst of golden light exploded outward, throwing Torvik backward across the platform. Bond protects, the priest said. It does not allow hate to pass. Guards surrounded Torvik and pulled him away. The crowd was silent again. Then slowly, they began to cheer louder than before. The king appeared on the viewing balcony and raised his hand. Let it be known. The stars have spoken. The bond has defended itself. This union is sacred, and so it shall remain. Ethan turned to Leora. Are you okay? She smiled softly. I am now. He reached out and took her hand. The light between their palms grew stronger. A signal that two lives had joined, not by force, but by choice. Later that night, as fireworks danced in the sky, Ethan and Leora stood on the edge of the royal balcony. She leaned against him. Do you think Earth will ever believe this happened? Ethan laughed. They'll think I'm crazy, unless I bring you home. She looked at him. Then I guess I'm coming with you. He smiled. Let's show them what a human and a Villari princess can become. Beneath a sky full of stars, they kissed for the first time. Across the galaxy, whispers began of a bond that burned through fear, a human who became a legend, and a love written not in words but in starlight. The end.